Godzilla Gorilla, aka the definition, coming at y'all with this quick live stream. I wanted to get into this real quick because Derek from More Place More Dates just put out a video regarding Ryan Garcia failing his B sample drug test. Now, the video was about 12 minutes long, but I wanted to go over the part in the middle where he talks about the concentration of the drug Ostarine in Ryan Garcia's urine sample. And I wanted to touch on the ignorance of Derek from More Place More Dates surrounding this whole situation. There are a lot of factors at play here that either he's not privy to or he's ignoring. And I'm going to get into it while I listen to what he's saying about the concentration of Ostarine in Ryan Garcia's urine. All right, so that's what I want to do right now because I feel like it's very important. Because what people tend to do is give half-assed information. They don't give all the information. And based on some of the language he uses in this video, I'm not sure he's completely objective here. You know what I'm saying? I think that because of his first video, he made an assessment and he said that he doesn't believe, even before knowing the concentration level of Ostarine in the urine sample, he didn't believe that Ryan Garcia took intentionally the Ostarine because he feels like it might not be a high enough dose for him to have any efficacy. And that's where I have a problem. Because there, like I said, there are a lot of variables and factors surrounding why the concentration levels might not be what you feel, because it's just a feeling that he has. This is his opinion. Understand that even Derek from More Place More Dates can be fallible, right? He's not infallible, right? He's a great researcher into performance enhancing drugs and whatnot, but he's not infallible. He's not perfect in all the information he gives. And the reason I want to do this is because people are going to take this and be like, yeah, you see, Ryan Garcia didn't have no performance enhancement against Devin Haney. And the reason this is a problem is because it's dangerous to assume that there was no performance enhancement, even though there was the shit in his system, because you don't know how much he had in his system based on what was in his urine. You don't know if he microdosed. There are a lot of things at play here that you don't know could affect why the results came in the way they came in. All right, so let me play this. I'm gonna play this real quick.
And when I say fucked, I mean, like, he gets the scrutiny, and even if he proves that it's inadvertently spiked in his supplements or whatever, you were still responsible, and you're likely going to have your win taken away, I would think. And I have no idea what this means for all of his gambling winnings and stuff. Like, that must...
He's correct on this point, because at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia is responsible for what he puts into his body. And if there was contamination in supplements he was taking during the weight cut, during the camp, he had to give Vada a list of the supplements he planned to take during his camp leading up to the fight against Devin Haney. And if they do find contamination in the supplements he was using, that supplement better be on that list. And even if the supplements on that list, right, and his team found contamination, they're not just going to run with that. They're going to have to get the lot number of that supplement, go to that lot from the manufacturer. They're going to have to get a subpoena, all that. They can't just go in there and be like, yeah, one of these guys said your shit was contaminated. We just going to come in here and check your shit. No, they have to go through the process of checking other supplements on that same lot. And there better be contamination in those products as well. So they're not just going to go with the, oh, look, it wasn't this. So that's number one, right? I'm not sure if Derek knew that, but that is the case. Ryan Garcia agreed to give a list of supplements he was taking to Vada in case there was contamination, and they'll know readily, okay, these are the supplements that we are going to check, and we're going to do a thorough check. And if it's in that, then okay, cool. But if it's not on the list, it ain't gonna mean nothing.
Wild. I can't even imagine what that is like right now, where you bet on yourself millions of dollars, and then it comes to light that you cheated. And if that gets held up, is there gambling entities chasing him now too?
Now understand, in this video, right, Derek is expressing his that he knows that Ryan Garcia has said a lot of stupid shit and done a lot of stupid shit in the lead up to this fight, and how bad it looks that he would bet on himself to beat Devin Haney a large amount of money, and then get found with drugs in his system. But then at the end of the day, what Derek thinks Ryan intentionally did, it's kind of crazy that he would think that, given all the bullshit that Ryan Garcia has done. Is pretty interesting to me.
You know, like, I can't even imagine what this guy's dealing with. So the actual dosage that he used,
he can't imagine
6 nanograms per milliliter.
He can't imagine what Ryan Garcia is dealing with. The guy that cheated. Wow.
What does that actually equate to? Well, first, what is the minimum efficacious dose for Ostarine? So we look back at some of the clinical trials. I went over the Ostarine pipeline, I believe, in my first video. By pipeline, I mean the clinical pipeline in which it is being assessed for different indications. It is a research chemical at the end of the day. This is not an approved, FDA-approved drug yet. It is still in clinical trials and has actually failed for lack of efficacy a few times. Notably,
understand what he said. Ostarine is still in clinical trials. It has failed a few times. It's still in clinical trials, and it failed a few times. That's very important. Because guess what? There are plenty of drugs out there, including very effective steroids and other SARMs, that have failed a few times during their clinical trials. That's why they put them through extensive clinical trials before they do approve them for human usage. And the reason I'm saying that is going to be important later.
So it's not that effective of a drug for performance enhancement.
He said it's not that effective for of a drug for performance enhancement, but he never told us how many failures there were versus how many how much effectiveness there was. Okay, so understand that he's still not giving us all the information. He just said, oh, well, it failed a few times. It failed to give a performance enhancement a few times. Yeah, there's a reason for that. And he knows this. And I don't understand why he's doing it this way. I don't think he's being, I don't want to say he's being dishonest, but come on, he knows better than this.
But it does enhance lean muscle growth and strength to some extent. But what is the low?
He glossed over that. It does enhance muscle growth and strength somewhat. And he just goes, well, that's, I mean, well, how much? What else do you need from it as a boxer? What else do you need from it? If it enhances your strength, that means if you throw a left hand, it's going to improve the strength of your left hand, thereby making it more effective. Understand, Derek from More Place, More Days is not a boxer, right? I don't know how much he knows about boxing, but if you already have a powerful left hand and it is made even more powerful by a performance enhancing drug, which you can't really measure unless you're testing that while you're on it and while you're doing certain things like punching something that will pick up the amount of speed and power that you have put on after you hit it. You know, they have these things where you can put it on a dummy and you punch the dummy and it'll tell you how many miles per hour and how many pounds per square inch of force you landed on that dummy. You would do that before you take the drug for a good amount of time, not just one time, but you'll need to do that days upon days upon days. Then after you take the drug, you would have to do it after a certain amount of a period of time of taking the drug. You would have to hit that dummy again, that the same number of times to determine exactly how much of an enhancement you got. That did not happen here. So at the end of the day, we don't know if it was efficacious or not. The fact of the matter is, it was in Ryan Garcia's system, and it is known to help retain muscle while cutting and strength and power. That is important in the sport of boxing as well, and I'll get into that.
Dose you can actually get something out of, at least based on the literature available. We have studies assessing as low as 0.1 milligrams all the way as high as 100 milligrams in about 1,500 subjects. And this was back in, I don't know when I wrote this article, but it was a while ago, but it comprises most of the notable.
He don't know when he wrote his own article that he's coming on YouTube to present to the world. It's your article. So why not go back to your article and check the date of your article so that you'll have at least that much information. Hey guys, I wrote this article in blah, blah, blah time. So that'll tell you, hey, this article is up to date as of this date. Because guess why? There might be more literature. Why is it important to date? Why is the date important? Because there may be more literature beyond what you wrote about. So if you wrote that article back, say in 2019 or something like that, it's 5 years later. It's 5 years later now. There might be more literature surrounding ostarine. And as a matter of fact, they may have done things to ostarine, right? Synthesized it a little bit because it's a synthetic product. They might have done things, tweaked it a little bit to make it more effective since you wrote that article. So it's important that we know the date of the article there, Derek. Why don't we know the date? Why are you glossing over that? Oh, I don't know when the date the article I wrote was. Motherfucker, is it in a cloud somewhere? Can't you go look it up? Can't you say, hey, oh, I pulled my own article up. Here's the date of my article. Have I updated this article? Let me go to the bottom and check. Oh, because some articles you'll have references, and then you can see where you got those references, when you updated it, blah, blah, blah. So if you wrote an article surrounding the research of a product, because he didn't do the research. No, he did a research paper based on actual studies that were done. So he wrote an article based on that. Don't you think it's important to know the date you wrote that article before you come on here and say, hey, I'm basing what I'm saying to you on this article, but I don't know when I don't remember when the article was written. Man, come on, man. There, you know better than that.
Austrian literature that actually assesses dose increments and what actually equates to an outcome worth evaluating. So, percent change in lean body mass is a metric of assessment of efficacy in many of these studies, but also strength. And of course, these aren't healthy populations, but you have to extrapolate what you can as to what is better than like baseline hormone production. And in general, what we see when we dig into the literature is that ostarine at a dose of about 3 milligrams is kind of where you start to get into the territory of increases in power, something that could be chalked up to useful in sport. Anything below that, you're not really getting, especially as a male.
Now, this is very important as well. That number he gave you, 3 milligrams, right? 3 milligrams, that's the number he gave you, right? That is the amount of ostarine you would take for it to become effective, to increase strength and retain muscle. But the number he gave you earlier when I started was 6 nanograms in the urine. So whatever came out in the urine are traces of what he consumed. So why are we comparing the amount that someone needs to consume to the amount Ryan Garcia pissed out? The amount Ryan Garcia's body shed as waste is the 6 nanograms per milliliter, a good representation of exactly how much Ryan Garcia took. So are you saying that the 6 nanograms per milliliter in the urine is also the amount he would have taken? Are you saying, well, it's 6 nanograms per milliliter, so therefore he only took 6 nanograms? You said that he would need to take 6 milligrams for it to actually become effective. How do you know he didn't take 6 milligrams based on what came out in his urine? Oh, what's good? Salute from Australia by way of East Oakland. What's good, Sam Seals? That would be my question. So why are you comparing what came out of Ryan Garcia to what you would need to take in to be effective? Why are we doing that?
Highly unlikely to be getting anything worth taking it to begin with. And to be honest, as mentioned in the first video, even if you were looking at this thing seriously, if you're an athlete with even a room temperature IQ coach on your side would hopefully tell you this is not the compound you want.
So are we to automatically assume that Ryan Garcia used this product at the recommendation of his coach? Maybe he didn't go to his coach for this product. Maybe he went around his coach. Maybe he went to somebody else. How do we know where he would have gotten the Ostarine from? We don't know any of this. So to say that his coach would have to have below room temperature IQ to recommend this product, how do we know the coach recommended the product or said that what are we talking about? And why are we assigning or ascribing any level of intelligence to a person like Ryan Garcia or any level of scruples? We know this dude ain't got no scruples. We know he ain't that intelligent. I mean, he's smart enough to fool y'all, right? Into thinking that he's this pious motherfucker, right? To get you on his side. But maybe that's just because y'all are so attracted to him. But that's coming in another live stream later on tonight. And I'm going to do another live stream in a little bit. And it's going to be a very interesting live stream. But anyway, let's keep going. How do we know the coach gave it to him? What are we doing here? Come on, Derek, you smarter than this.
Be using. There's no sane, not completely idiotic person who would.
You see, this is what I was talking about, the language. There's no sane, non-idiotic person
ever suggest using Ostarine as a PED in boxing. This is.
Then why have multiple boxers got caught with Ostarine in their system? If this is not something that you would recommend to boxers, why would it be in their system? Why would it be in multiple boxer systems? Understand. See, Derek also might be ignorant of this, right? You're saying that you would need to take 3 milligrams. Okay, so you need to take 3 milligrams or more for it to be effective. But there was only 6 nanograms in the urine, but the urine is just a representation of what your body wasted. You can't determine the amount someone took based on what's in the urine. All the urine tells you is that you took it or not. You cannot extrapolate the amount someone took from the sample of the urine because there are a lot of things that can affect the amount that's in your urine. So, okay, 3 milligrams to get a little bit of a performance enhancement. Okay, now let's get into this. If you have 2 boxers, right? You have 2 boxers in a boxing match. One boxer, both of you guys walk around weight maybe between 160 and 175. You got to get down to 140, right? Guess what? Both boxers have to cut weight, right? What's going to happen while you're cutting weight? You're going to lose muscle and you're going to lose strength, especially if you don't already have a lot of body fat to begin with. Neither one of these guys really do. Ryan Garcia has a little more body fat than Devin Haney. All right, so both fighters have to cut weight down to a certain amount. If one boxer cuts his weight all the way down to 140, drains himself, does not take performance-enhancing drugs at all, in the very least, took nothing, pushed through to lose all that weight, and then in the last 3 or 4 pounds, worked hard as hell to cut that. He is going to lose more energy, more muscle, and more strength. The other boxer also has to cut weight. But guess what he does? He doesn't cut the weight all the way down to 140. No. He only goes down to 143.2. But at the same time, he's taking ostarine to do what? Retain muscle and retain strength he otherwise would not retain if you didn't take the ostarine. Whether you want to say, oh, it's only a little bit of strength and a little bit of muscle. Well, compared to the guy who lost a shitload of strength and a shitload of muscle to cut down to 140 and a shitload of punch resistance, the person who went down to 143, he didn't lose as much strength. He didn't lose as much muscle, nor punch resistance. Why? Because his brain did not dehydrate as much as the other guys. So even without the performance-enhancing drug, he already has an edge over the boxer that cut all the way down to 140. But with the performance-enhancing drugs, if he microdosed and maybe took a little bit over the 3 milligrams, and how much, for what period of time would he need to take that 3 milligrams? That's also something that I would be interested in knowing, Derek. 3 milligrams per what? Per day? Per week? Per 2 days? Per 3 days? Per 4 days? What are we talking about here? How much per what? Over what period of time? You're just saying 3 milligrams. So if he just takes the 3 milligrams in through his mouth, ingests it, and he does things like, I don't know, uses IVs, smokes marijuana, all of this shit to help mask the ostarine, right? And then, I don't know if you're aware of this also, Derek, from More Plates, More Dates. The day of the weigh-in, after they weighed in, and Ryan Garcia was supposed to give his sample immediately after the weigh-in, he disappeared for 9 hours. He disappeared for 9 hours. He was supposed to get a sample that morning. He dipped off after the weigh-in, which that morning, didn't give his sample until the later on that evening. So what was he doing for those 9 hours there for More Plays, More Days? Do you know about that? Also, the IV. The IV is prohibited. Why? Because that is considered chemical manipulation, according to the NYSAC. So the New York State Athletic Commission says that you cannot use an IV because it is considered chemical manipulation. You could chemically manipulate your body with an IV so that when you do piss, right? When you do piss for those samples, you could greatly dilute the amount of ostarine that shows up in your urine to the point where it's not even detected. And we saw for sure that he used the IV at least once. So does that mean that he didn't use the IVs other times, any other time, because it's not filmed? He could have been using the IV every other day, every 2. We don't know what Ryan Garcia was doing. We only know that he took the IV that one time because it was filmed. So you have that. You have the IV, which is considered chemical manipulation, which is why it's not allowed. You have Ryan Garcia disappearing for 9 hours the day he was supposed to give that sample. You have the marijuana usage, which is considered a masking agent. You have also diuretics. He could have been taking diuretics, which is also considered a way to mask certain performance-enhancing drugs showing up in a urinalysis. Also, marijuana It's a diuretic. That's why you get so damn. That's why you get cotton mouth, right? And that's why you get so goddamn hungry. So these things all should be weighed in when you're making your assessment. What's good? What's good? No nonsense, Stucky. When you're making your assessment of whether or not you think Ryan Garcia intentionally took a performance-enhancing dose of Ostarine, I would think. But what are you doing? You're telling us, oh, well, you'd have to be a stupid coach to let your fighter do this. Oh, it's not going to have any performance enhancing in boxing. Are you fucking nuts? Any level of enhancement, whether any level, is going to pay dividends in the ring because the other fighter drained himself down to 140. You didn't drain yourself to 140. You claimed you couldn't. You were able to retain more muscle and strength due to the performance-enhancing properties of the Ostarine, even if it was a very minuscule amount of enhancement. And then you also have to consider, you think his supplements were contaminated? Well, did you know that he has to give the list of supplements he was taking to VADA in order for it to even matter? If the product that was contaminated, so you say, is not on that list, they're not going to give a shit. It's not going to matter because it's not on the list you gave them. You are responsible for what you put in your body at the end of the day. All right? And just to spoil it, hold on, let's see if he gets to it. All right.
A completely absurd choice of a PD with how highly detectable it is. And just,
it's highly detectable if you're not using masking agents. It's highly detectable if during the entire period of your fight camp, you don't have to worry about dehydrating and cutting weight, or dehydrating actually. But when you do try to cut weight, because hey, you're well over that 3 pounds. If you go over 5 pounds, you're not going to be able to fight. So you got to get down at least to 143 to keep the fight going. So guess what? You're going to start dehydrating just enough to get down to 143. Guess what that's going to do? That's going to put stress in your body, and it's going to change the chemical makeup of your blood a little bit, and it's also going to get rid of certain waste. So once you start draining, once you start dehydrating, you're going to lose glycogen stores. You're going to lose water that was retained along with electrolytes. So when you lose electrolytes, you're going to lose water. You're going to lose glycogen. And guess what? Your lymphatic system is also going to get rid of some waste. What's contained in your lymphatic system? Well, that's waste products from dead cells, from damaged cells that your body needs to get out. It needs to get rid of it. So all that shit's going to start getting released from your body. You might even fast. And guess what happens when you fast? Your body goes through autophagy. That is also when your body gets rid of damaged cells, get rid of sick cells, and all the things that are contained within. So guess what? You're not going to have a very good chance of diluting and masking the Ostarine if you have to dehydrate, if you have to fast to get down at least to 143 to keep the fight going. So yeah, you might get some Ostarine in your system now, because now you got to dehydrate, you got to fast. It's harder to mask because everything is coming out. All the water, all that type of shit. You have to get all the water out in the electrolytes. Guess what? Before you test. Why? Because after you test, you piss. You piss. I mean, after you get off the scale, and that was the first day he tested positive. The day before. And that was the morning of the official weigh-in, which is the day before the fight. That was the first time he tested positive. So guess what? You drained all the water that would have diluted the ostarine that's still in your system. That would have been gotten rid of as waste. So all you have left is a little bit of pissy piss. And guess what's going to show up in that little bit of pissy piss? The ostarine, because you don't have the water flushing and masking and the marijuana and all the shit that you did. You got rid of that shit while you were fucking cutting, while you were dehydrating to get on the scale. So now what's left is, after you get off the scale, is the same as the fucking shit at the bottom of your fucking gas tank. That's why you don't wait until your fucking gas tank is on empty to fill it up. No. I like to fill up my gas tank when it's halfway empty, so that the fucking sediments from the gasoline, because there's going to be sediments in there. It's not going to be just pure gasoline. You're going to have sediments that can get into the system of your vehicle. It can get into the fuel injection system. It could be a problem later on down the road. You don't want that shit to get sucked up into your hoses and all that other shit and gum up the works. The same thing is going to happen when you're drained and you have to drink some water right after you weigh in, so you can get something out, so you can piss. Well, you're going to get all the sediments and all the bullshit that was in your system that can't be masked anymore in that fucking urine. That's why it showed up the day of and the day after. But why isn't Derek telling you this? Why is he telling you, oh, 6 nanograms, that ain't shit? Oh, 60 times the allowable amount? It sounds like a lot, but it could have been contamination. But he's not going, why doesn't he tell you? Does he know this? I don't know. I've never heard Derek go in on boxing before. A little bit, but you know. But these are the things that could occur. These are the ways in which the ostarine that had been masked for all these weeks finally shows up, because you have to cut weight. You got to get rid of as much water as you can, as much glycogen as you can, and as much electrolytes as you can. There's no more shit in there to mask anything. What you want, if you're going to take a drug test and you're not a boxer, you're not a fighter, you don't have to get in a competition, and it's a non-tested competition. If you want to do that, you want to drink all the water you can and flood your system with water, marijuana, all that shit. But you still want to be full of that water when you go give your sample. But Ryan couldn't do that. He had to dehydrate. He had to get rid of a shitload of water before he got on that scale. After that scale, he tried to go and disappear for 9 hours. And that's when he probably did try to go drink a bunch of shit. But guess what? It still didn't work. It still showed up. Because that 9 hours probably wasn't long enough this time. Oh yeah. It was a lot more shit shed in those kidneys when he had to get that P test. Even though he disappeared for 9 hours. Anyway, I'm done, man. The spoiler is Derek from More Place, More Dates believes that Ryan Garcia did not intentionally take a performance-enhancing amount of ostarine. He believes you have to be a stupid coach in order for Ryan to take that, to just, why would you take ostarine? It's not good for boxers. Well, I'm just saying, I don't know if he knows all the things surrounding the situation, but it doesn't sound like it. So I figured I'd help him out a little bit. Derek, do a little more research. Do a little more research. And it would be nice to know when that article was written, Derek, because it would also be interesting to know, well, how much research and how much more improvements on ostarine have they made since you did that article? The article that you wrote, that you don't even know the date you published it was. I'm just saying, I just got questions. I know that's not good in 2024 after Modelo 19 happens and all the fact checking and the research was frowned upon. It used to be that research and fact checking was a good thing. But then Modelo 19 pandemic came through, and if you did research, if you fact checked, if you didn't just believe what somebody told you, you were seen as a nutbag. You were seen as a conspiracy theorist. So fact checking and research, no fucking good. You just got to go with what mainstream media puts out. Well, that's how it used to be. But now you have these YouTubers. You got what is known as the new media doing the same thing. They don't want you to research. They don't want you to fact check. They want you to take what they say because guys like Derek, now no disrespect to Derek, but you out of your depth on this one, my friend. You out of your depth. Only because there are factors that you did not mention that should be mentioned. The IV, the 9-hour disappearance, the fact that Ryan Garcia did not cut weight all the way down to 140 like Devin Haney did. So if there were a very little amount of enhancement that Ryan Garcia received from that small dose of ostarine, well, guess what? It's going to put him above Devin Haney in terms of performance because he didn't cut the weight all the way down and he took ostarine. These things are important, but you're just supposed to go with what Derek said because he's more placed more dates, right? And because he has all the information on all the PEDs, he's done all the research, he knows all the jargon. Yeah, he's the expert. So we should just appeal to the expert, shut the fuck up, not fact check, and just roll with it, right? Not me. If you've been rolling with me for a minute, if you've been supporting me for a minute, you know I don't get down like that. You know I like to do my own fact checking, my own research. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Much love, like, share, subscribe. And we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.